Alright, the Normandy invasion, otherwise known as D-Day, is when the Americans, the British, and some Free French took a foothold of northwestern France during the Second World War. The invasion of Normandy, or more commonly known as D-Day, is what most consider as one of the most influential and a turning point of the Second World War. This invasion consisted of the American, the British, and Canadian forces in the northwestern reaches of France. Now, this invasion was very, very important due to that the Allied forces, otherwise known as the American, the British, and the Canadian forces, needed to gain a foothold in Europe against Nazi Germany. D-Day. D-Day is also formally known as Operation Overlord, which that is the military operation for it. So, this was a very, very high classified invasion. It was the opportunity the Allied forces had been looking for in the Second World War. With the Nazi invasion of France, they had taken over all of Europe, and so this led to essentially a giant barrier built, except for the United Kingdom or Great Britain having defended its land from air attacks by the Luftwaffe or the German air forces. And this is D-Day is also one of the was probably the most important battle plan in the war that led to the demise of the Axis powers in Germany. So having this foothold in Europe now gave the Allies a chance to fight back against Germany. And although it wasn't the first conflict in the war that included the Americans, it was also the first battle that the American Allies had on European soil. So we had also fought the Japanese in the Pacific Ocean, so it was also kind of significant because it was America's first chance to really get revenge for the German Empire. So what happened? Before the invasion, General Dwight D. Eisenhower gave a speech about the invasion and how it would go down in history. And also before the invasion, the German army was redirected north of the actual invasion site due to General Patton's Ghost Army of Balloons. Now, General Patton, during this time, was actually on probation for... he was a really, really risky general, and they didn't really like him, so they had Dwight D. Eisenhower do this invasion, and they had a ghost army. Now, this ghost army was basically tanks, jeeps, made out of balloons, and they had them sit there, and when Nazi planes would fly over, they caught these images of these balloons, and they thought they were actual tanks. So, Adolf Hitler had his troops go north and try to defend this area, but in doing so, left the southern beaches wide open for invasion. Pardon me. And Patton was a very, very good general, and Hitler knew this, so this is why he directed most of his forces northward. Now, during the invasion, it was very dangerous, and there was no cover on the beaches, and thousands of men were storming the beaches. Actually, it was about a million and a half men storming the beaches, but also, and thousands of men gave up their lives. But eventually the invasion was successful, and they were able to gain this foothold in Europe. And this is a video. This is the Dwight D. Eisenhower speech. I won't play it all, but just to say. So, continuing on. So, what did the victory mean in Normandy? So the victory was very influential in the Allies' foothold in Europe and led to the eventual liberation of Paris. This was a very, very good morale booster for the Allies because Paris had fallen a long time before this, and it was a very, very detrimental loss with the French army. And then also after the liberation of Paris, the Allied powers with the Western and Eastern Front would begin to pushing the Axis powers into a constricted area and cutting off resources from them. So soon, the Russians would get involved, and they were also constricting Hitler's forces on the Eastern Front, which they would eventually get to Berlin faster than the Allies would. So, technically the Russians helped a lot more than the others, but it's a war. Well, anyways. And then soon out of this, the entire Third Reich would fall, and the war would be over, and then therefore agreements could be made, peace agreements, and we could split it up.